right, so if you can hear my voice, you need to come into this room because forget whatever inspiration's going on over there. We've got a great talk here with Deb Schultz, who is going to talk to you about tummeling. And if you know what that is, you're way ahead of me, even though you've explained it to me many times. But really a great talk about tummeling and people and really important things that matter. So I'm going to turn this over to you, but again, if you can hear my voice, come on in here. You won't want to miss what Deb's got to tell you.
Okay, so how many of you here have startups? Okay, not everybody, cool. Okay, so basically I'm here to inspire execution. How do you like that? Yeah, good? Because I don't get the inspiration execution. I think they're parts of the same thing. So in the time that I have, let's take it away. So first, a little bit about me, very quickly. It's not a pitch, but probably you don't know where I come. I say that I'm of the web, graduated out of college in the early 90s, doing all web stuff, partial geek reformer, you can read the slide. But the thing that I'm most known for is technology changes, humans don't. So this presentation is a talk about people, not algorithms. The people are the thing that matters. They are the foundation of everything. And in a really cool way, I get to slide off of my friend McClure's talk this morning, which is about emotion. So hopefully I'm going to give you some ideas about, while you're building your company, some of the things you should think about. So it's not about this. I love this old picture of like some freaking 1960s computer, right? So first, let me give you a bit of a reminder, right? So we are inherently social animals. I always laugh about the fact that we think tech is going to replace everything, because if it actually was, none of us would need to be here in the room together with each other, right? I mean, what's the point, right? And as a result, you know, in the way past, you know, a couple of generations back, it was kind of pretty simple. You socialize with people right in your geographical area, right? The farm, the homestead, family, then it went out, right? Today, everything is connected, right? Each of those nodes used to be about data, but now they're about people, they're about pictures, they're about video, they're about everything. Sounds like I'm restating the obvious, but it's really easy to forget some of this stuff. We bring our social behaviors with us when we move online, right? We're organic, we change, we're vibrant, we're different, we're not ones and zeros, right? Unfortunately, well, let me get into that. A good friend of mine, Jerry Mikulski, calls it weaving a global brain, and I just love thinking about that. It's one big pulsing thing that we're doing. You know, people talk about speed and real time and APIs, but it's really this uber connectedness, which has positives, but it also can have some scary, weird shit going on about it, all right? By the way, if you like graphic network topical mapping, great site. Visual Complexity. Anyone seen it? Check it out. It's fun. All right. So what we've created in the last 10 years, I'd say, even less, 5 years? I mean, I started at 6 apart, so I'd say 5 years is, let me know when I have to stop moving, because I do this a lot, is we've created a culture of sharing now. Like, we take it for granted even within the last few years. I mean, I remember when Flickr first launched, we would be at a conference like this and we would ask people, is it okay if I post this? Like, now the default is on, you know, everything we do is public. I think there are problems with that we're making these assumptions, right? As a result, I say that we're living in this continuum world versus episodic. Like, we used to get to sort of live like this. And I call it the death of the grand gesture, you know, and if you're building a company, you need to think about this. Usually this resonates a lot with big companies. So if we're all connected and we're in community, a word I'm learning to hate, because it's being bastardized a lot, or in the relationship economy, what we tend to do is the equivalent of ignore me, ignore me, ignore me, flowers on Valentine's Day. Ignore me, ignore me, ignore me, buy stuff. Super Bowl ad. You know, we have to learn how to live in your startup world with your customers. You live your business 24/7, your customers don't, right? Necessarily. I mean, you know, what problem are you solving? Anticipation, right? The other thing you need to think about when you're starting a company is you build authentic networks before you need them, right? You don't parachute in at the last minute and ask your customers to beta test stuff. You have to build that network. You don't show up at a dinner party and start selling fucking, right? We're at startup, say fucking. Tupperware, right? You're not gonna be invited back. It's the human side of tech that we have to remember. We take ourselves with us online, and very often we forget this. I mean, I don't care if you're creating an app that does this, this, and this, and your code is really pretty. What problem are you solving? How does it help me? How does it make me more human or improve my life? And you need to remember that. This is a great example because when the volcano that I can't pronounce went off in Iceland, all the people who already knew each other from TED were all stuck there together, and because they already knew each other and had a trusted network, they threw together a conference really quickly. That's the kind of stuff that you can take advantage of with a startup that you're doing, but only if you realize it takes time to build these kind of relationships. And if you're at a startup, the one thing that I always say to startups, and it drives me insane, you're creating something new, a new behavior, a new innovation, you're improving something. Hopefully you will never have you will never have the ratio that you currently have of employees to customers, as you do now, right? You want that ratio to grow. Yet why is it you put up an FAQ on your site? Hire a human being at this point because you have fewer customers. The first customers you have can be your evangelists. They can help you. Don't put up a freaking FAQ. Talk to me. You know, when I was at 6 Apart, when we had 10 people, 2 of those 10 were customer service people. And trust me, when our networks went down, et cetera, our customers knew Brenda. And they said, and she was able to talk to customers, not in the last minute, because they already had that relationship and already trusted her. And yet, our web is still pretty binary. The example I like to give is, are you friends with your mailman? I was gonna say mail person, mailman. This is a person in your life. You don't have to think, click them on, click them off, like, unlike. We have networks and ways that we think of people. The technology that we're living with right now is way too binary still. It's getting there. We are at the cusp right now, as Dave alluded to this morning, of new design thinking in a lot of things. It's a freaking teenager. You remember what you were like as a teenager in the commercial sense. The web that a lot of you are working in, the internet that you're building stuff for is max 15 years old commercially, 25 if you're in something social. This is early stuff. And it's not quite figuring itself out, which is why you're not gonna have all the answers, and which is why the people on your team and your customers and all those are exponentially more important. Think about the companies that have launched and been successful recently. One thing I like to think of, let's use the example of Pinterest. It had the right time, the right place, and it was graphically visual delicious. It's not a secret sauce, but they got the right people to use it right away. They identified that there was a new group and real people want images, not links. You know, look at a screenshot of Delicious links and then look at Pinterest, right? Matter of fact, when I was prepping for this talk, I took a look at Delicious. I haven't looked at it in forever. They starting to look incredibly like Pinterest. It's really interesting. But that's because they thought about how regular humans use tech, right? It takes us a really long time between versions, right? Millions of years, right? Tech, your version 1, 2, and 3 is very different. You have to understand that changing that behavior is a whole different way of being, right? As a result, we're living in this really messy sort of shifting world where we don't know what's public, we don't know what's private, what can we share, what can't we share? Is it okay if I build my startup this way and do that? Path sharing all my contacts we talked about the other day with some friends. What's acceptable is constantly shifting, just like adolescents don't know the rules. We don't know the rules. The tech is moving faster than we are. So in that case, it's even more important than ever than building a trusted relationship with your customers. So when you do the oops, we fucked up, you have a way to deal with them. This is what a lot of us feel like when stuff happens, right? I put a picture of that up there. I mean, you get a reaction, just like you do when you go like this, right? You get a reaction when you see a baby crying. It's a human emotion. You might be building more efficient tools, but it's about people. Unless you're building a tool for computers to talk to computers, and there's no people involved, you better start thinking about human behavior. Don't forget how you are in your daily life, right? With every new technology, we have to make these adjustments. I am convinced that the first evening after fire was created, someone around the fire pit said, can you turn out that, when are you going to put the fire out because I need to go to sleep? What are the rules about this? Your light's in my eye. So with every new tech, we have to figure out what the rules are. And so if you're creating new tech, you need to be thinking about how it impacts the people around you, right? Does anyone here know what phatic communication is, or phatic expression? Okay, phatic communication is the communication you do when you look at someone without saying something, or when you ask someone how the weather is. You don't really care about the weather, you're trying to connect with them, right? What we're missing a lot online with the web today is that phatic communication that we do right here. By looking at you right now, you feel a little more acknowledged, right? I hope. I mean, maybe you're embarrassed that I'm staring at you, but that's the idea. And that brings out that emotion that we were talking about. That matters. That makes us feel connected, right? And the Horton Hears a Who, when we are here, we are here. When people put photos up online or statuses or pokes or send email to a business colleague sometime with Yammer or Chatter or whatever, sometimes they're not looking for an answer. They're just looking to share a thought and connect. Until we disembody our heads and all become computers, we can't get rid of the emotional part of who we are. It's just not going to happen. I hope it never happens. So this new, I like to call it a participatory web. I've started to hate the word social media because, I don't know, when I get online, I don't necessarily think I'm being social, and I don't necessarily think of myself as creating media. So the participatory world requires a combination now, right, of new design thinking, sophisticated tech, and kind of I feel a renewed focus on human skills and emotion. And as the tech gets easier and easier, which it has been, exponentially, Moore's law or not, the tech is going to get easier and easier, and it'll get out of our way. So the human connectedness becomes even more important. All those things like trust, all those things around relationship. So I wanted to do like a quick demo of the possible way to think about this. God, I'm talking fast. I need 2 volunteers who hopefully don't know each other. This will be 2 minutes. Who wants to come up? Oh, come on. People, your startup people, come on up. Somebody else. Come on up. Yes, gender mix, I love it. Can you see if they stand over here? All right, come up on stage. Come up on stage. Yeah, come up on stage. We'll get you on camera. All right, I'm gonna stand right in the middle. This is always awkward depending on what the stage is. Okay, watch what I'm doing. Okay, hi, my name's Deb. How are you?
Kathleen.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Very nice name. And you? Your name?
Hi, my name is Alexandra. Alexandra.
Alexandra. I get these two beautiful names. And Kathleen, what do you do?
I work at Kiddo Media.
Kilo?
Kiddo Media, which
Kiddo?
is a kid startup.
A kid startup. Very cool. What do you do there?
So it's online gaming for kids.
Awesome. Online gaming. And Alexandra, what do you do?
I work in a free software consulting company.
Interesting. Do you guys know each other?
No, not at all.
All right, Alexandra, I would love you to meet Kate. And is there anything in the free software that you do that you could maybe learn about and help Caitlin with?
Well, it depends which text you use.
Yeah.
I feel like e-learning would be good for me.
E-learning.
There's a free software.
There's a free software for e-learning. Good. They're so working with me here. Don't you love them? Okay. Well, I'm going to let you guys walk off the stage and continue talking. All right? Cool. Thanks. Give them a hand. They had no idea what they're doing. All right. So let's just break down that really simple interaction that just happened. There was a handshake, a greeting, a response, a handoff to each other, feedback. I had to give them feedback about each other. And hopefully you left the stage feeling a little smarter about the other person, knowing a little more about them. Let's translate that online. Enter is a handshake. Whether you like it or not, when I hit enter and I log into your site, it's a handshake. This makes me feel acknowledged. Hola, Debs. And I purposely use old photos and I haven't changed them in a couple of years because I think they really resonate. It shows me a face, avatar, flicker, a face. We respond to faces. We are mammals. We are human beings. It says hello to me. Teaches me something, actually. It's a greeting. Anyone here used to use Doppler? I miss Doppler. It was I miss Doppler. So they did a lot of this stuff really well. They would do this did you know? It's a travel site, sharing travel. They say, did you know that you're in New York now, and these are some of your other friends that are also in New York? So you're building sites. Help me learn about the other users on your site in concrete ways, all right? They also did this thing, and I love this. They made me smarter about them and me as a company. And though I usually tell people static is not as good as organic, they sent me an annual PDF, a freaking PDF of all the trips I took every year. How many miles to the moon I went. I don't check in that much, so I probably traveled more. All the places I went. Getting that with this graphical visual imagery in a PDF that they pulled out of their databases, nothing very fancy. Brilliant idea. Brilliant, right? So, I went, go back. Go back. Okay, so all of this stuff that I'm alluding to, and if you look at some of the other inspirational or other talks that are happening here, they're all about what matters, and there's a lot about sharing, collaboration. If you don't get the people stuff, you ain't gonna rock it, okay? So I call these people Tummelers. Tummel, or Tummelers, is a Yiddish word, okay? And it means, technically, to catalyze others to action, okay? Tummelers were hired at weddings to get everybody else to dance. So in a world where access to information is easy, we're no longer in a command and control hierarchy. We're all networked, right? You can get information at the tip of your fingers. The new type of co-founder, founder of a CEO, the employee you need at the company is the one who's the pattern finder, the dot connector, the one who connects people to each other, who makes people feel connected to who you are. It could be the founder of the company, it could be someone in the company. We need to start thinking more like Tumblers, right? These are the successful people. McClure's a great Tumbler, right? He called people up on stage, he talked about emotions, he connected with the audience, right? That's part of the power of that. Enough with the data, right? It's important, but we have to take it up a level higher. It's the people that are going to make your company work and customers, right? Not users. Ugh. I hate the word user because it's like, I'm not a user, I'm a human being, right? So tummeling is that skill set of doing that. And unfortunately, we are not building tools online that acknowledge the tumblers. They're kind of Gladwellian connector 2.0 with emotion, like hosting a party and bringing people together. It's kind of what I did by introducing these people. Your company could be a Tummel-esque kind of company. It's a very early way of thinking it, and I purposely don't like to use the word social community manager, because that's not it. That's not strategic. It's not. A community manager is the webmaster of Web 1.0. It's a much more strategic way of thinking. And a good Tumbler, I love this, that's Iggy Pop. Can you see him in the middle? You can barely tell who's the performer and who's the audience, right? They're in there, he's in the pit with the customer, right? Some sample words of what a Tumbler does. They're emotive, they're intuitive, they're bit critics, you connect. These are the things that we have to remember. It's the people, it's the emotion, it's as human beings, it's what we look for. A good site brings that out. It makes you want to connect. Why is it that Flickr has great comments on photos and YouTube is filled with crap comments? What makes trolls happen in some sites and not in others? It's usually a person, people, or in the design. I'm seeing more better work in the design of acknowledging and thinking about me as a person, right? So these are some of the words to think at. There's a new framework. It's organic. So as much as we're coding, and I know it's hard, you're like up here and I got to add a new feature, keep asking yourself, if I was a regular human being, how I would respond to this, right? So, one thing I want to say before I do my thank you slide is, I thought of one of these kind of like really easy things to do the other day. How many times do you go to a site and you've forgotten the password, right? And you usually have 3 or 4 that you go to, or you have a system, right? Well, wouldn't it be so much easier if on that password, I forgot my password thing, the site said to you, by the way, our system is 6 letters, alphanumeric, capital, or not, right? If you just knew that, that would give you that little mnemonic device to remember your password. That's not coding. That's thinking like a user. That would save me emailing. You get the email back, you go, oh, right, it's the password with the 6 letters and the number and the thing in it, Yes, you can have a separate app that keeps your passwords, but thinking like simple things like that, language, acknowledging, is designing with humans in mind. And if you're interested in the topic of tummeling, I do a podcast with 2 cohorts, Heather Gold, who's sort of the geeky Sarah Silverman, and Kevin Marks. She calls herself, what does she call it? And Kevin Marks, formerly of Google. And you can learn more at tummelvision.tv. And if you are interested in this stuff at all, please come up and find me later. And I wish you all luck building stuff that you're passionate and emotive about. Thanks for your time.